that's one of the things when I teaching young kids, embrace the awkward. When something's not go like, I'm coach, I'm trying to do karaoke. This just isn't working out. Just embrace the awkward, work through it. And I think it's a big dichotomy that we have, that sports has, like you're talking about with real life. It's so different in the classroom. I think it's one of the last spots where kids can really experience failure and understand it as an opportunity to grow and not as like, you done bad. Typically often I see it in the classroom where, while you get an F in a class, that's like a black eye, as opposed to like, oh, okay, what do you need to do to change it? And I think that can be damaging when it's like, all right, everything needs to be pass, get an A, get straight A's. And when we get in the mindset of, if it's not perfect, we shouldn't be doing it. It really puts a ceiling over you of what you're going to allow yourself to try and what your mind is ready to go out and try. Is if you're only going to, take those layups, you're never going to learn to have that range. So yeah. What's that journey like, going from taking kids that maybe aren't comfortable with that failure to jumping into, or even adults now in your coaching?
It's the same challenge outside of school that it is in school, right? That like imprinting of like, you're a failure or you failed is the punctuation at the end of a sentence. And in my world, the goal is to turn that period to a comma. And while that's such a simple principle, it's a difficult practice. What happens in school and what I've seen with kids on and off the field, in school and out of school, and if there's anything I've changed about education, it'd probably be this, is that the response to failure is the most critical building block for the next success, right? The moments in my life where I have been at my worst because of a failure and the emotional collapse that happened afterwards, that's the moment that defines me as a human and defines me as an entrepreneur and defines me as a success. It's only in response to that failure that I can demonstrate my understanding of failure. It is impossible to skip that step. And what happens is, on the field and off the field, people go success, 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 success. And when you get comfortable with that, when you stay in your comfort zone, you learn to maintain a level of performance, but not change and evolve the process. So you just repeat and repeat and repeat. Whatever gets me the same outcome, I'll just keep doing. And eventually we hit a wall where our comfort zone has reached a terminal point, and the only thing beyond it, the only growth available, is beyond that comfort zone. And the taller we build up that performance benchmark of like, I always get A's, or I always succeed, or I always win, the taller we build that, the harder that fall is. So what I was dealing with as a coach, and what I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs now, is like, they've built themselves up to like, I'm successful. And their performance shows that. But their performance is largely limited because that's as far as they go, right? They go to where it's safe to win. They're guaranteed to win. They're guaranteed to do well. And when they hit that collapse, we've got to rebuild from the bottom. So the practice is to reframe someone's relationship with failure. And the simplest way to do that is to help someone see that failure is the beginning of the experience, not the end. And to install a sense of pride in failure, right? Really changing that relationship. What I've noticed is that the best athletes can manage it, the best entrepreneurs can manage it, and the best humans can manage it. And it takes time to reframe that. It takes like conditioning someone to fail. So the practice that I set up for many people, again, this is on the field and off the field. This happens with players that I used to coach and the entrepreneurs I coach now. The practice is failing. So I will do things and set up ecosystems where it's impossible for them to win. They can't win. They are going to fail. So one of the things I would do with players is put them up against like odds that were totally insurmountable. They're down 5 goals with 30 seconds. Okay, let's see I want to know how you respond here. Do you collapse or do you evolve? Do you grow? And do you rise to the occasion? I would put them in one-on-one scenarios, and then all of a sudden it's 3-on-1. Like they can't win. And I would watch the emotions break through, right? Like, and I've had these moments on the field where I'm like, it's impossible. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. And in that moment, that's where you can really coach somebody. For an entrepreneur, I might say, okay, you've got to go ask a ridiculous question 3 times a day. An answer, like a question that will only get a no. So I would send entrepreneurs out and they'd be like, I remember one woman that I coached. This is a great story. I was like, look, you got to go ask questions that you're going to get a no to. So she rolled up to somebody walking on the sidewalk in her car and rolled her window down, lifted up 2 rollerblades with her right hand and was like, hey, can I come rollerblade in your basement? And the woman was, like in her 60s and was like, it's kind of dirty in the basement. And like was considering this. But what it taught her was like, oh, okay, it's not a big deal if I hear the word no. And for an entrepreneur, that's the same thing as failing as it is on an athletic field. And when you start to experience failure differently and you have someone behind you saying, hey, look, I'm going to put you in this ecosystem, it's going to be okay. You really start to change that. And if I could change school and the way grades are produced, and it's starting to change in some other like institutions that do education, but that's what I would change. Making sure that that period at the end of the sentence, you failed, is addressed with a comma. And here's how I want you to move forward, right? Here's an opportunity to do it again. If there was anything that created me as an entrepreneur, it's my willingness to go forward after failure. And I've had some absolute bombs, but that's largely what coaching, writing, like all these things. Let Her Play was a huge failure the way I first wrote it. I wrote it like 3-4 years ago now, and it was not what it is now. Somebody read it and was like, bro, no, you missed the mark. And it took several edits. That wasn't even the title initially. Like all those things had to be edited. And it's your relationship with failure that governs your future.